I think he'll change. He is committed of his own level of service, and that will remain true.
The privilege to bear during so much of my life and duty.
The king's final wish might destroy the royal family's carefully planned future. Inside the stone walls of Balmoral Castle, Princess Anne dropped a bombshell revelation that left Prince William trembling, so close to tears. King Charles has clear instructions on how Catherine is to be, and not just as William's wife. Will this unexpected wish tear the monarchy apart? Will William accept his father's wish? Join us as we find out what Princess Anne has just revealed about the king's final wish for Prince William. King Charles's secret plan. Something unusual was happening at Balmoral Castle. It wasn't just another rainy day in the Scottish Highlands. The clouds hung lower than usual. The air was still, like the world itself was waiting. Inside those quiet stone walls, the royal family was about to hear something that would shake the monarchy to its core. Balmoral had always been the royal family's safe place, far away from reporters and loud headlines. It was peaceful, private, and full of family history. But on this day, the silence wasn't comforting. It was heavy, strange. A sign that something big was coming. Black cars rolled up the long driveway one after another. Staff peeked from behind the curtains. No one smiled. King Charles and Queen Camilla arrived first. Then came Prince William and Kate, followed by Princess Anne, and finally Prince Edward and Sophie. No one had been told exactly why they were meeting, but when this many royals show up uninvited, everyone knows it's serious. King Charles stood at the head of the table. His face looked tired, the way it had since he started treatment, but his eyes were focused. His voice was calm, but it carried weight. The kind of weight that comes from holding something in for a long time. Princess Anne had called them all here for one reason. She was to reveal something no one expected. She spoke about the future, the kind of future she believed the monarchy needed, not just to survive, but to matter. She said the king wanted Catherine, Princess of Wales, to rule one day, not beside William, looking pretty, with a smile and waving, but in her own right. Not everyone understood at first. Some thought she was speaking in support of her. But no, Charles had decided that Catherine should be the one to carry the monarchy forward when the time came, not just as queen consort, but as queen, the ruler. The room froze. Prince William didn't move. His head dipped slightly. No one could see his face. For Charles, this wasn't about pushing his son aside. It was about protecting the crown. He had watched Catherine grow into her role, calm under pressure, beloved by the public, steady through scandal. She wasn't just popular, she was ready. In Charles's eyes, she was what Britain would need next. Camilla sat still. After years of criticism, surviving scandal and finally becoming queen was another woman about to take the spotlight, with more power than she ever had. William looked up, fists clenched. He had trained his whole life for the throne, and now the king, his father, wanted his wife to take it alone. Anne showed nothing, but she was already thinking ahead. Catherine had earned respect, yes, but this would upend the line of succession. Royal roles followed order, and Charles had just rewritten it. Catherine said nothing, but she didn't have to. Everyone in the room knew. This wasn't a rumor. It was real. A new path to the throne had been laid at her feet. The rain outside tapped harder against the windows, mirroring the tension inside. Charles spoke gently. This decision wasn't sudden. His illness, the demands of duty, and the evolving world, he believed Catherine was the bridge between tradition and change. It wasn't about sidelining William. It was about lifting the person who could lead with strength, heart, and stability. But William heard the truth beneath it all. He wasn't the future, not alone. And now, everything has changed. While William struggles with his future and his wife potentially stealing his throne, what makes her fit for the crown? The Uncrowned Queen. The story didn't begin in a castle. It started in a hospital room in Reading, England, on January 9, 1982. That's where Catherine Elizabeth Middleton was born, just a regular baby in a regular town. Her parents, Michael and Carol, worked for British Airways before starting a small party supply business in 1987. It took off. Their success helped send Catherine to top schools, where she wasn't just smart, she was also sporty. At Marlborough College, she was the captain of the field hockey team and was known for being calm, focused, and fair. No one knew it then, but she was quietly training for a different kind of game. In 2001, she joined the University of St Andrews in Scotland and studied art history. She worked part-time as a waitress, lived with flatmates, and went to class like everyone else. One of those classmates happened to be Prince William, second in line to the throne. They were friends first, then the roommates, then something more. The world didn't know for a while. They were so good at hiding it. Not until they were photographed on a ski trip in 2004. The relationship wasn't always smooth. They broke up in 2007, and people called her Waity Katie, mocking her for sticking around without a ring. But she didn't rush. She didn't complain. A few months later, they were back together, stronger. In 2010, their engagement was announced. She started using her full name, Catherine, and in 2011, she walked down the aisle at Westminster Abbey, becoming the Duchess of Cambridge. Crowds cheered, not because she was born royal, but because she seemed genuine. She took on her new role with quiet strength. No fuss, no drama. Catherine didn't just wave from balconies or smile for cameras. She worked. She visited children's hospitals, hugged grieving parents, and helped people who felt invisible feel seen. In 2021, she started the Center for Early Childhood, focusing on kids' mental health and development. She joined William and Prince Harry to launch Heads Together, a project to raise awareness about mental health. She also became known for something unexpected: her camera. Catherine's own photographs of her children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, often made headlines. They weren't polished like royal portraits. They felt honest. In 2022, after Queen Elizabeth II passed away, everything shifted again. William became heir to the throne. Catherine became the Princess of Wales, a title that once belonged to Princess Diana. People noticed the connection. Diana had been loved for her warmth. Catherine had that too, but she also brought something different: steadiness. And then, in 2024, another unexpected chapter. Kensington Palace announced she'd had abdominal surgery. At first, people thought she'd return to public life soon. But weeks passed. Then came the admission that Catherine had cancer. She was receiving chemotherapy. She stepped away from her duties. Paparazzi chased answers. Rumors spread online. But even in silence, she led. When she returned in June for the Trooping the Color ceremony, thinner but smiling, the crowds roared. She didn't speak much. She didn't need to. Behind palace walls, those who once saw her as the prince's wife began to see something else, someone who through years of pressure never broke. William was still the heir. That wouldn't change. But many inside the monarchy, staff, family, maybe even the king himself, were quietly watching Catherine. They saw her composure, her grit, her ability to stay human while carrying centuries of tradition on her shoulders. She didn't wear the crown, not yet, but no one doubted anymore. Catherine was leading, not from the front of the stage, but from its center, strong, steady, ready. She had become the Uncrowned Queen. But while Catherine is inspiring the nation, the crown is starting to slip from the hands of a king. What is happening? The heavy crown. Rain tapped softly against the windows of Clarence House as King Charles sat alone, a half-full cup of tea cooling beside him. His hand trembled as he reached for it. The illness had begun stealing his strength in ways he could no longer hide. Cancer, a word spoken to him just months earlier, had become the quiet force shaping his days. In February, the diagnosis arrived. He listened carefully as doctors explained the situation, but the news hit him harder than any headline ever had. All the years he spent caring for his health, eating clean, walking his estates, even talking to plants, none of it had been enough. The public was told the king had cancer and would start treatment immediately. The official message was hopeful, but inside the palace walls, it was clear. This wouldn't be a short or easy fight. By April, the treatments had taken their toll. One morning, something felt wrong. The side effects worsened, and soon palace staff scrambled to cancel his plans. A trip to a children's hospital in Birmingham was postponed, and the king was rushed to the London clinic for more care. Outside, life in London carried on. Tourists snapped photos near Buckingham Palace. People hurried through their workdays, unaware that just blocks away their king was struggling to stand upright. He returned to Clarence House that evening, shared dinner with Queen Camilla, and tried to act like things were normal. But by morning, another engagement was cancelled. Another space appeared in his once-packed calendar. The red boxes filled with state papers still arrived at his desk, but less frequently. He no longer read them from dawn to dusk. His team noticed the changes. The king, once full of ideas and eager to debate policy, had become quieter and more careful, conserving his energy for moments that truly counted. Behind the scenes, the palace adjusted too. Meetings were moved depending on how Charles felt. His staff learned the subtle signs. If he wore a favorite tie, it was a good day. If the royal doctor made an unexpected appearance, they cleared the schedule. Charles had chosen to speak publicly about his diagnosis, breaking from his mother philosophy, Queen Elizabeth, who kept her medical details private. He believed that honesty could help others, and it did. Thousands of people scheduled checkups after hearing his news. The illness didn't just affect Charles's body, it stirred tension within the family, especially after the meeting at Balmoral. That day, he made a deeply personal decision. It wasn't just about stepping back. It was about the monarchy's future. He told the family he believed Catherine, the Princess of Wales, should one day rule, not just as William's consort, but as monarch herself. Coming from a man who had waited nearly 70 years for his turn, it was a seismic shift. But Charles wasn't speaking only as a father or king. He spoke as someone who had carried duty's weight for a lifetime. He had followed every rule, upheld every tradition, and kept his thoughts quiet. But illness was shortening his reign. The crown, he now realized, was heavier than he ever imagined. So when he named Catherine, it wasn't judgment, it was experience speaking, passing down the cost of the job to the one he felt could truly bear it. William, Anne, and Camilla sat in silence, reactions hidden behind royal composure. But the message was clear. Charles wasn't sure William could lead alone. It was a painful truth for any father to admit. In the months that followed, Charles tried to keep up appearances, Easter services, brief visits, smiling with soldiers, but he faded. Events grew shorter, his calendar is lighter, his world is smaller. The family adjusted. William stepped up. Anne took on more. Camilla stayed by his side. Even Harry called. Charles spent more time at his desk, often staring at a photo from Balmoral when they were all together, smiling. That unity now felt distant. As the sun set over Clarence House and the doctors returned, Charles sat quietly, watching the city he had waited so long to lead. wondering how much time he had left to wear the crown. As Charles battles health issues, who's stepping up to save the monarchy? The king's wish or the heir apparent? Monarchy in transition. Prince William always knew he would one day be king, but no one expected that day to arrive so soon. Least of all him. For years, his role in the royal family was about preparing, learning, watching, waiting. That all changed when his father,